Καλησπέρα και πάλι. Είμαι η Αναστασία Παρετζόγλου, Brand Manager του Fortune στην Ελλάδα και θα κάνουμε τώρα ένα ταξίδι στην άλλη πλευρά του Ατλαντικού. Η Marian Salzman, που θα έχω τη χαρά να συνομιλήσω μαζί της τώρα, πρέπει να πω βέβαια στο control ότι έχω επιστροφή ήχου, δεν μπορώ να συγκεντρωθώ. Λοιπόν, η Marian είναι μία από τους 5 κορυφαίους trend spotters, είναι η γυναίκα που εισήγαγε τον όρο metrosexuality και είναι η πρώτη που μίλησε για το local as the new global. Η Marian Salzman βρίσκεται Αμερική αυτή την ώρα. Να σας πω ότι είναι Senior Vice President Global Communications της PMI International και έχω τη μεγάλη χαρά να ξεκινήσω μια κουβέντα μαζί της, μια κουβέντα που θα κάνει προβολή προς το μέλλον. Μετά την πανδημία, τι? Hi Marian, thank you so much for finding the time to join us. I really appreciate this. I was talking about your predictions. Every year you are sharing with us your annual trends forecast, which is very, very interesting. I have to say that in December 2020, in your 2021 report, you claim that the big trend for 2021 will be the embrace of a new localism which you call zooming in. And the yang to this yin is that we are also zooming out to get a better sense. So I would like to ask you, 4 months after, what exactly did you mean and how much did you fall into your predictions?
So I think that zooming in, and first of all, thank you for having me. And even what we're doing today is zooming in and zooming out. So I'm talking to you right now from my primary home or my secondary home in Norwalk, Connecticut in the United States. So I'm talking to you from my tiny little home office here, zooming very much in and yet zooming out, speaking to you in Athens. It's very much part of this inside out. Over the course of the last several months, most of us have spent most of our time inside our homes, very much constrained by the COVID-19 virus. Most of us monitoring things like the COVID-19 vaccine, wondering when we're going to get it. As an American, I find myself very vaccine proud. I've had both my Pfizer vaccine, both from a Greek.
So you are free now. You are free now.
I'm free, and I say this with great respect. I'm free because of a Greek man. I'm free because of the amazing CEO of Pfizer who has managed to get us our vaccines. And
he is
you feel
Greek.
very much Greek. You feel very much proud of what he's been able to do. But you also very much recognize that we're all connected because you're not totally free to zoom back out into the world without your mask. And so even in my own home, I'm sitting here with my mask right here on my desk because
and you are wearing the mask.
You know, you keep it with you at all times because part of this balancing of the in and out world is this recognition that the outside world is dangerous.
Yes.
And we also need to be supportive. We have to recognize that what's happening outside, we need to be more helpful. We need to be worried about people who don't have food, who don't have medical care, who aren't getting the same kinds of qualities. So it's this real split psychologically between what we can control very small and what's much bigger and broader. I think politically we've seen it. Culturally, we've seen it. We can't turn off and just go on to autopilot. And we need to start to think about how do we help those people that are out there, that are beyond the walls of our own homes, that are beyond the borders of our own countries.
You are talking about the huge problem of inequalities all over the world. and in
The
so
vast
many
majority.
fields. And this is a good point in order to ask you, what do you believe about the future? I mean that the pandemic highlighted women as the backbone of recovery communities. Do you believe that diversity, inclusion, equality, which are now on the agenda, won't go away when the pandemic subsides? I mean, is our generation witnessing a sustainable capacity?
We have no choice but to make this change. If we look at a country like New Zealand, if we look at the role of a leader like Jacinda Ardern, and we look at the contribution she's made, if we look at the female head of state and the way they've led through the pandemic, if you look in the US at the way the women leaders have risen to the occasion and they've led with both heart and brain, we have no way to ignore female leaders. We have no way to ignore leaders of color. We have no way to ignore leaders who bring diverse backgrounds. The decisive actions that these leaders have taken cannot be ignored. We cannot any longer default to a white male, middle-aged kind of expertise. Look, the first thing I say to people, I turned 60 a couple of years ago, and from my point of view, it used to be that I thought that women had made a great deal of progress over my lifetime. But I remember when I applied to university, I couldn't apply to Harvard University. I was forced to apply to Radcliffe College of Harvard University. I went to
Why
Brown
that?
University
Why that? Why
because
that
I'm a
you
woman.
couldn't apply? Because you are a woman?
Because
Just
women.
because you are a woman?
So I applied to an early class at Brown University. I was accepted. I went to Brown University. I went to Brown University and studied sociology at a time that not a single faculty member at that point was tenured, was woman. I didn't know
Yes,
any
but
better.
yes, but
So
what I want to mention here is that you are one of the most awarded women in communication. Okay, and this means that women never give up, although the women are facing many difficulties in the beginning of their journey to their
no, and my
professional
generation
life.
didn't. No, that's right. And my generation didn't know how bad we had it. It's actually only, and I give today's world a lot of credit. I didn't know what a microaggression was. I didn't know what intersectionality was. It was only in going back to study right now, and I'm doing this master's degree program at Johns Hopkins right now, as an old person, really to learn. And I took this wonderful course in race and ethnicity in the fall of 2020 during COVID, when I was mostly
Yes.
either my home in Switzerland or my home in the US, and I was studying online and I was learning these things. And I was like, oh my, this is exactly what I experienced. I didn't even know the word for it. I didn't know that I'd been discriminated against. I just thought it was tough. And I think that we need to recognize that not only as women, but also we need to worry about ageism. We need to worry about stageism. We need to worry about carrying one another forward. We need to worry about gender equity. I mean, one of the things I'm proudest about working at Philip Morris, and look, I'm a never smoker. I'm a never consumer of tobacco. And people were like, how could you work at a company like this? I decided to accept this job because of our equal salary certification. Because for everything wrong that Philip Morris may have stood for in history, the one thing I could embrace completely was our commitment to gender equality. The fact that I was going to get a seat at the very top table as a woman, and I was going to be able to be invited to pull other women, to pull people of color, to pull people from diverse backgrounds up, because salary was never going to be an issue. I feel very much that we need to challenge our largest corporations to be absolutely without bias, as it means elevating and employing and challenging and educating its staffs. Because without that kind, work. There's nothing.
Let's hope that all these things become true for everybody all over the world. I'm wondering about the future, and as you can predict the future in many ways, I'm asking you, during the pandemic, we saw that very many people, millions of people, decided to escape to the country. And they escaped to the country and they decided that life is much more normal near the nature. So I would like to ask you, how do you imagine the cities in the future? Do you believe that many of the metropolitan cities will change?
I'm expecting urban replanning. I'm expecting cities to reinvent themselves, but I'm expecting the rise of tertiary cities, of third cities, of cities that represent natural centers, places where people have great outdoors as a dimension of what they're getting out of the city. So green spaces are going to be every bit as important as the arts. There's going to need to be affordable housing. I think that people are going to choose quality of life over a great deal of other things. So I do think cities are going to be reimagined, and they're not going to be dense in the way they've been dense in history.
You gave me a very good step to go forward and to ask you, can you describe us the characteristics that will reshape our lives when the pandemic subsides? I mean, shall we return to our old unprotected ways of life, or shall we see new approaches on the ways we are working, we are socializing, we are entertaining ourselves, etc.? What do you believe?
I think people are going to be more cautious. I think they are going to be more calculated, not in a malicious way, but I think they're going to be more likely to think twice before they sit down at a table with someone else, not because they're afraid, but because they don't want to expose themselves to hurt. I think they're going to be look for deeper relationships with fewer people. I think they're going to put more value on human collaborations, but they're going to look for longer term, enduring collaborations. I think they're going to put more emphasis on education. Education is going to be really, really the most crucial thing we're going to think about for our children and for ourselves, and upskilling. So learning for a lifetime.
For a lifetime, exactly. We are all aware of the big advantages that technology and especially digital transformation has brought to our lives. Can you preview the new hot industries that will be affected by technology? And is there anything that, scares you in the future? And in this realm of technology, where do you, and on one hand, if there is something that fears you in this realm, and on the other hand, where do you expect to see the next technological disruption taking place?
Okay, so the most exciting thing I think is telemedicine. I think the idea that you can gain access to the best medical care in the world through your computer screen. I think the kinds of things that are going to be exciting are going to be all digitally conveyed. What scares me, artificial intelligence, people that are going to try to think better than my brain and your brain and even our brains collaborating. Computers trying to do algorithms that are going to try to outthink us. It scares me to death. What excites me is all the various things I can do. I mean, I went shopping for new dishes in Mexico yesterday. It was so exciting to buy from a Mexican pottery, from a Mexican artisan at an affordable price, knowing the money I was spending was going directly to this Mexican artisan. It was so exciting. It just made me happy. And I knew that the money was going to this family that made the pottery. So I think things that are going to make us happy are helping people one-on-one. Things that are going to make us sadder when we feel like big business and big industry, and things that are so big that it doesn't feel human or humane. So I think it's going to be the big computer. It's going to be bad. Small and manageable is going to be good. Things where computer mediation make us feel human. So when I met with the doctor this week online, it made me feel good. I was talking to my doctor. It was about me. She was helping me feel better. feel like things are automating and an algorithm is telling me eat less of this and eat. I don't want an algorithm to tell me anything. I want a human to help me.
Yes.
Upskilling. Upskilling is gonna, I mean, I keep throwing out that buzzword, but I feel all of us, we used to go to school from when we were 0 till we were 22. And now I feel like we're gonna go to school from when we were 0 till we're 87.
Yes, we all need this happiness to come back to our lives. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marian, for having you and for taking the time
Thank you for having me.
being with us. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you so much.